Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 201 of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited if you are joining us bright and early this Friday morning, or whether you are catching this on the replay. Now, as always, if you think any of the content that we are talking about today could be relevant for anyone in your network or your circle, please hit the share button and share the love with others. Well, as you guys know, we have been in a month-long series for mental health awareness. And I am so excited to have today here with me Tammy King. She's a licensed psychotherapist and a trauma strategist. This is her first time here. And welcome, Tammy. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and what I love is that you offer something that is a little bit more diverse that we don't talk about. A lot of times when we have things that come out for mental health and mental wellness, this is a space within that isn't always talked about. And that is
Correct.
health and well-being of our healthcare professionals and our healthcare workers. And I think now more than ever with COVID-19 and everything that has happened, this is so important to be addressed. And I know we're going to dive into that in a little bit, but first I would love for you to share with the audience a little bit about your background and yourself.
Absolutely. Well, as you stated, my name is Tammy King. I am a licensed psychotherapist and trauma strategist, and I specifically help Christian women in healthcare professions confront and heal their hidden emotional wounds so they won't show up in other areas of their lives. Because from experience, I've seen that when they do show up, they can come in and cause problems in relationships, your physical health, your career, and even your income. And of course, we don't want any of that to happen. So we work diligently, just providing coping strategies and utilizing biblical principles as well to incorporate in the treatment of in the coaching and treatment of my clients. So that's kind of what I do. Now, as far as my background, I've worked in quite a few different areas of mental health. I've worked in private practice. I've also worked in community mental health. I've worked for our state's crisis and access line here in Georgia. And I've also worked in managed care. I've worked in freestanding psych facilities as well as general medical facilities. So pretty diverse background, and it spans just over a decade. So pretty diverse, yes.
Yes, and with all of those different backgrounds that you've had and connections you have, what are things that you have been seeing during this pandemic that you really have been extracting, concerns, that you've had, and maybe sessions you've had with others that really we need to kind of focus in on and not overlook?
Right. So there is, understandably so, a lot of fear and anxiety just in general. A lot of uncertainty, of course, is promoting that. And there's the fear and anxiety surrounding, their own health, your work, especially for our frontline workers. They're in contact with, the people who are suffering. That's actually their job. So there's that concern about their health. And if they're not isolated from their families, they're going home with their families. And so there's some providers who are, dealing with the fact that, the fear that they could potentially pass this along to, family members if they have it. And like I said, some providers are actually isolated from their family members because some are caretakers for, elderly parents who are in more of a high risk category. So being, and isolating from them, or if they have other family members who may not be in an elderly category, but they may have underlying or chronic medical conditions that also place them at higher risk. So to protect the family, they're having to isolate themselves. And of course, that's difficult, isolating yourself from your family. And also, there's just changes in sleep and appetite, the difficulty concentrating, some exacerbation of existing physical health problems or mental health conditions as well. So, in addition to those things, as far as the human component, there are also additional challenges that are specific to this particular group of people. And that is, of course, again, just being able to care for the people who are infected and having the responsibility of containing the disease. Concerns, like I said, about their own family and their own health. And then also noticing a strain with the protective equipment. Of course, with some of that, it's hot. You may, experience dehydration with that. And then also the availability of the protection equipment or lack thereof, of course, in some places, as I'm sure you're aware of. So those types of concerns are a lot of what I'm seeing that's contributing to the stress, the anxiety, and the fear that comes along with this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to see this as having so many layers of trickling down effect with all of that stress, and I have this image of how stress impacts each area of our body, like from our stomach to our heart to our brain, all of those things. And you can't keep chiseling away at something and not eventually have something break.
Exactly.
I think that, and a lot of people have put their health, which is very fearful, on the back burner during this time. A lot of people they've needed to go in for help, but they're fearful to go in, or being told to not go in. Or if you're a frontline worker, it's like you feel this need that you have to show up and you have to be there, and sometimes ignoring some of those symptoms you're having for yourself. And I just wonder, as we go on in 2020 now, like how many trickling down effects we're going to see from this pandemic.
I definitely think that we will be seeing some effects of this for a while. I mean, because, first and foremost, they're human. So just like it's affecting, you, me, and the rest of the general public, it's affecting our healthcare workers. Yeah, they're healthcare workers, but they're human beings. So this whole thing, it definitely weighs on the personal identity in addition to the professional identity. And I think that's something that that I really want to acknowledge, be cognizant of, and spread the fact. Because it definitely will. We will see that trickle down effect. And, I am seeing reports, of, instances of traumatic stress that we'll see hereafter. And even in, your regular work as a healthcare professional, you deal with things like burnout, vicarious trauma, secondary stress disorders. So just think how much this pandemic is compacting those conditions, is impacting rather those conditions. So it's definitely something that we will, unfortunately, I believe, be seeing a lot of once this whole thing stabilizes. And when that will be, who knows?
To be seen, right? And I know today that we were going to talk about really the importance of self-care for our healthcare professionals and steps they can take in that way. And I know that you kind of have a little guide for them, book per se, little guide, that they can also follow in ways to nurture that. But what are some of those tips you have for those healthcare professionals?
Well, first thing I would say is to have regular check-ins. One of the worst things we can do right now is to isolate and keep our feelings inside. So being able to have those regular check-ins with your family, your friends, or even your colleagues is very important. And also during the day, having brief stress management breaks. And with that, you could do like 5-minute deep breathing sessions during your day. You could do like a 10-second body scan, or you can do like a 5-minute meditation session. And with the breaks, and again, I know that especially for our frontline workers, their days are packed, they are busy, but we still want to be sure to take little breaks and take little time during the day to do things for ourselves, to make sure that we're really taking care of us. Because like the metaphor says, when you're on the plane, you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself. They instruct you rather to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before assisting someone else. So the same idea applies here. And the second thing you want to do is to really rejuvenate your body. And by that, you want to do things like make sure you're having, your healthy snacks. You want to make sure that you're doing stretching. You can even do like a little 5-minute walks or mindful walks. And basically with those, just take your walks, and with each step, just make sure that you're being very mindful and breathing with each step, and also being very aware of your surrounding with each step you take, just really being in the moment and focusing on the present moment. Mm-hmm. And another thing that you can do that I really, really recommend that you do, and I know this is much easier said than done, but really try to focus on what is in your power, and try to accept the things that you cannot change. Because oftentimes, especially in this climate, there is so much uncertainty. There's so much that happens beyond our control. And if you're in this profession, of course, you're in this profession to help people. And right. Unfortunately, there are losses, as we've all seen. There have been several losses, thousands of losses. And that's just something that I wouldn't want anyone to beat themselves up about. I encourage everyone that I work with to be gentle with yourself, have that self-compassion, show yourself some grace. And another thing that I'd highly, highly recommend is to go easy on both traditional and social media, because, you see all of these stats, you see a lot of the bad news. And I'm not saying to be uninformed, but, right. Don't overwhelm yourself with it, because it really can contribute and incite fear and anxiety in us. And it's just already a really uncertain time, and those things are going to happen anyway. So what we don't want to do is compound those effects by listening to news reports or risking looking at uncredible sources and taking those as truth. And another thing I highly recommend is, during times like this, when it gets hard, is to really remember why it is that you do what you do. Because you're going to have those days where it's just completely overwhelming, and that's completely understandable. Once again, you're a human being. So tapping into why you do what you do, and for many of the people that I work with, being in this field, this is their purpose. They feel as though this is their calling. So really remember that when things start to get rough, remember why you went into this profession, remember who you do it for. So those are some of the tips that I have for our healthcare professionals moving forward during this pandemic.
Yeah, no, and I'm trying to, because it's bright and early here, I was trying to jot some of those down. But you know what? I always tell people, I'm like, this is not my strong point, to try to put those tips down in there. So when somebody watches this on the replay later, all the things she just said, drop them in the comments.
And I can put them in the comments after as well. So
yes, because I think that is so, so important. Now, I know that I saw that you have some kind of a guide. Can you tell me about that guide you have? Is that a book that people can purchase, or is it a guide that they can download off of your website?
Yes, it is absolutely free. It's a 5-step planning guide for self-care, and it's specifically for busy healthcare professionals. Mm-hmm. And what I love about this guide is that it's completely customizable. Oftentimes, you hear about self-care, you should do A, B, C. But with self-care, a big part of making sure that you actually follow through with it is having a plan that works for you. having a plan that consists of activities that you enjoy engaging in. So with this guide, it walks you step by step through 5 easy steps where you can come up with plans and activities that work for you. And there's a piece in there where you can go back and evaluate after a certain period of time to see if that works for you. And if it's not working for you, go back in, reevaluate, see what we need to adjust, and go from there. So that's really what I like about that. It's completely customizable. And once again, once you commit to doing something that's within your power, that you have time for, and that you enjoy, you are more than likely to stick to it rather than taking someone else's recommendations.
Yes. And is that something you can drop below also in the comments, either the website or the link to be able to utilize that?
Yes, I will drop the link so that you can just simply go to the site and download it. It's a really good resource.
Wonderful. And I know you're based in Georgia. Are
Yes.
you able to do telehealth services of any kind with people outside of Georgia, or is it more just within your state?
I can do coaching services with clients outside of the state of Georgia as well. So I jump on, my virtual platforms and do, my 45-minute calls. Well, right now I'm offering 45-minute compassion calls. And that's basically where I utilize a specific system. And it's a really good resource for healthcare providers who may be struggling or have some instances of on-the-job trauma, which of course is, pretty common right about now with the pandemic. So with those, I am able to just log into my virtual platform, and I'm able to do those sessions with clients all across the country. So it's not just limited to the state of Georgia.
Okay. And would someone go to your website for that, or do you have a link for that as well that you would drop below?
Yes, you go to my website. It's iamtammyking.com.
Okay, wonderful.
So you can just go there to schedule those.
We'll be there. And what is also, is it on your website is the best way to connect with you, or would you say through Facebook or Instagram, the best way to connect with you?
I'm sorry, repeat that. My connection went a little
wacky, which happens. What is the best way for people to connect with you? Is it through your website or through other social media platforms?
You can connect with me via my website. Again, it's iamtammyking.com, and that's Tammy with 2 M's and an I as in India. And you can also reach me and connect with me on social media. I am at Tammy King on both Instagram and Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Tammy, so much for being with me bright and early this Friday morning. I really appreciate it. And, I love what you're doing because it is a space that's not talked about all the time, but we need to remember that no matter in what space you're in, you are not alone. And that's what really Mental Health Awareness Month is all about, letting people know where you are in the world or profession you're in or demographical area, you are not alone within this. And so many different resources to reach out to. So thank you so much for being with us again, Tammy.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
If you guys want to know any more about the On Air Advocate, you can head on over to onairadvocate.com, and all of our resources are right there. And if you are viewing this on Facebook right now, you can head up to the top of this Facebook page, hit the blue button, and that will let you into our private group. So with that, thanks again. Everybody have a very, very blessed Memorial Day weekend and be safe.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.